All right, group 2, we are getting into the specificities of y'all's layout. So straight out the gate with the divinely designed elements of you all's solar plexus that you all have been wrongfully demonizing. So these particular elements would be ones that are most majorly attached to your divine identity, your divine functionality, and your divine purpose. All right. I ain't gonna waste no more time. I'm gonna go ahead and get right into the specificities of these cards, starting with the one over to the left of them, which gives us the Five of Cups and it is sideways. Being the fact that it is sideways and the Five of Cups is already a limbo type of card, this lets me know that a lot of you are feeling very, you could say either stagnant and or like you looping and pulling on the same thing over and over and over again, or perhaps in this mindset, some type of feeling of boredom, tired of doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, feeling unaccomplished, like you should be further than where you are. Of course, being another fact that, this is the Five of Cups, definitely dwelling on what you're lacking, so much so that there's not a whole lot of attention being given to what you have gained and what you have accomplished. So needing to get better at celebrating small victories so that when you build up to the bigger victory, you can celebrate it that much better by the time that it's all added up to that bigger victory. Okay, because there'll be a greater appreciation for the process. And I believe that's what Spirit is highly getting at for y'all right about now, is having y'all to gain a greater appreciation for the process and not being so stuck on the results of it all. Because as crazy and backwards as it may sound, being so stuck and fixated on the results can cause you to miss the results. It gives me the quote, watch the water, don't boil. If you sit up there steady staring at it, it's gonna seem like it's never getting done. It's also like driving down a really long street. If you're driving down a really long straight street, of course you're going somewhere, but eventually it's gonna feel like you ain't going nowhere. It's gonna start to like drive you crazy, right? But you kind of have to remind yourself that even though it may look like you're not going anywhere, or it might seem like you're not going anywhere, you are. It looks like the same scenery over and over again. It looks like you're passing the same trees over and over again, but those are different trees. A lot of trees just so happen to look alike. So it's been a long road, but it is leading to somewhere, okay? It's leading to somewhere. There are also messages coming up here about being more resourceful, making better use of your time, making better use of your resources, and also showing more gratitude for your resources. So it's also giving me this scenario of the type of person that hates to spend money in general and has this mindset of penny pinching, hoarding money, holding on to money, and feeling guilt behind whenever you have to spend money, even if it's for things that you need and desire. So for instance, like going grocery shopping and then beating yourself up about how much money you spent on groceries, even though you bought things that you both need and desire in balance. So it's like instead of being grateful that you had the money to pay for those things, you end up dwelling on the fact that you had to spend money, which that is inevitable. That is life and dealing with currency. Having to spend, having to participate in the flow of money in order to attract money. And so that's something the Spirit is saying that y'all are having to gain a greater understanding of in more ways than one, not just as it concerns money, but overall as it concerns the concept of give and take, transactions, mutual benefit, relationships, things of that nature. So it's given that, and I'm hearing, for a lot of you, this is coming from a wounded place. A lot of you have been feeling highly resentful, and the Five of Cups is also a card of resentment. So there's that element coming through there about a lot of you feeling very resentful of how much you gave in previous relationships, how much you sacrificed and how much you dished out in previous relationships, and you don't feel like you got the reciprocation that you deserve. You don't feel like you got even an ounce or a piece of what you deserve. So now it's like had you kind of stuck in this loop of fearing giving and being very reluctant to give of anything that you have, even if it is a dire need type shit. And it's coming from this place of being traumatized and being wounded, which is highly understandable. But Spirit is saying this is a part of why y'all have been feeling so stuck in a loop, because holding on to that in that way is keeping you stuck in the past. You're steady being controlled by the past because the past is controlling your decision to actually live and be and allow yourself to experience relationships, even as it concerns with yourself. Because let's take it back to the grocery analogy. That is something that you do for yourself. That is a form of self-care, specifically if it's done in the way that you are balancing out your priorities surrounding needs and desires. And so in doing that successfully, you should applaud yourself. You should pat yourself on the back for continuously committing to caring about yourself in such a way that you commit to such the actions. However, if you guilt trip yourself for doing things of that nature, then you have then deprived yourself, or you're putting yourself in a state of deprivation, or you're telling yourself that you deserve to be deprived even from and by yourself. So doing something to yourself that ends up translating into how you function and or a lack of functioning in your relationships. Spirit says to allow that to segue us to the next card. Before I do, I'm going to touch on the number 5 aspect as well. As the number 5 is a number of balance as well as a number of drastic change. So in realizing this boredom, this feeling of stagnancy, this feeling of being frustrated and fed up with the loop and pull of it all, Spirit is saying applaud yourself for recognizing that and being unsatisfied with that, because that is a sign that, for one, you care about yourself, and you care about yourself enough to not allow yourself to get stuck. So this is you giving yourself the opportunity to play the major role in your drastic change and turning the tables for yourself. And that is something that Spirit has been trying to lead a lot of you to realizing and therefore doing, which is realizing that the ball is on your court. It's meant for you to take a pen and rewrite it. And so that gives, a song channeling through. There's 2 songs that channel through, actually. The first one was Before I Do by Seven Shria, and the second one is Bigger by Beyonce. Yes, God. So get them tunes to spin and ask Spirit, ask your divine realm what they are wanting you to take from those songs, okay? Okay, now, moving on into this here second card, to the middle of them, which is the passion card from the ancient geometric oracle deck. Cloud mercy. So we have the number 34 on that card. So the number 3, which is a number of alchemy, number of creation. It is also a number of divine purpose. It's a number of travel as well. It's a number that highly focuses on processes as well. That's the number 4 there, which is a number of manifestations. It's a number of love and money, particularly love and money frequencies aligning and balancing for the greater good. Also, you put the number 3 and the number 4 together, you get the number 7, which is a karmic number, particularly right side up. And with the best of faith, it is a number of good luck, good karma. It is a number of milestones as well, hence a number of cycles. So another sign that this cycle that y'all are worn out on, tired of, fed up with, all of that is coming to an end. It's coming to an end. It's coming to an end. And Spirit is highly emphasizing that it's coming to an end because y'all are ending it. Y'all are making the decision to end it. So for a lot of you, this is giving generational curse breaking, generational pathology breaking, okay? For others of you, amongst the generational pathology breaking is also giving some form of bad karma y'all had created for yourselves some type of way years ago. Y'all have been in this cycle, this process of repentance for a while, whether you've been calling it that or not. You've been in this cycle of repentance for a while and clearing up that bad karma. And so this is Spirit implemented for y'all in particular that, you know, basically job well done, pat yourself on the back. It's still some residual stuff being cleared up. But y'all have been clearing it up, and that bad karmic cycle is coming to an end once again because y'all are ending it. Y'all have been very proactive in your own life and in your own processes, very accountable in your own life and in your own processes. And accountability, responsibility, proactiveness for itself translates into power. Translates into power in the sense of empowerment, which is a lot of what the solar plexus is about. And so y'all are very strong in that area. However, Spirit is saying there is a sense of confidence when it comes to knowing and owning that sense about yourself is where things get shaky because this type of sense of empowerment that y'all innately have, that y'all kind of been struggling with or battling with one way or another, it has made y'all targets for energy vampires, for ego busters, for people who see light and want to stomp it out. People who see the way you tend to yourself, the way you are both free in yourself and disciplined in yourself. And they see the power in that. They see the love for yourself in that. And therefore, once again, the power in that. So a lot of people have done everything in their power to try to make sure that you all don't recognize your own power. And if you do recognize it, they have tried to make sure that you are uncomfortable in the recognition of it. And I'm getting that this has shown up the most when it comes to the things that you are passionate about. People that you care about the most, or people who claim to care about you the most. A lot of the time when you start indulging in things and participating in things or have things going on, especially if it's celebratory and it's concerning things that you're most passionate about, a lot of times you look up and those people who, you know, claim to be your ride or dies, your fam, your this, your that, a lot of times they're either not there, and if they are there, they are raining on your parade in some shape or fashion, right? So that is why this card came out sideways as well, because there's a need for y'all to accept the harsh reality that you've been participating in a lot of one-sided relationships. You have been a best friend to a lot of people, but a lot of people that call you best friend, you can't genuinely call them best friend. A lot of people that, you know, you can confidently, and they can confidently call you the best mate, the best significant other, and whatever have you that they've ever had, but you can't confidently say that or truthfully say that about other people in actuality. And a lot of you have been coming to the recognition of that. And Spirit has been trying to trigger you all to get more passionate about yourself, because it's been a lot of attacks on your sense of passion from the activities that you're passionate about, the ideas, concepts, and beliefs that you're passionate about, and being passionate about yourself. Because also having that sense of knowing as a branch of confidence, that can translate into pride and therefore passion for the self. So if someone can convince you that you don't have a right to be comfortable in your knowing, or you don't have a right to be comfortable in your power, that's a direct attack at your sense of passion for yourself. So now I'm going to read the text from the card. The frequency of passion reminds us that beneath every intense emotion lies the hidden gem of insight, balance, and calm. It assists us in finding the balance within this intensity, moving us from chaos to the calm of its core, where we can let its long-lasting wisdom fill us up. So as I was reading that, I was getting this imagery, this scenario of when people, I'm just going to say it because this is exactly how it's coming up. Spirit be telling me stop caking with shit. I don't cake too much, but sometimes I be trying to cake. I ain't even going to cake with it. Let's get it. Okay? So Spirit is giving me this scenario of like dark-skinned black women, for instance, and specifically, who are often labeled with the diva trope, aggressive, they're difficult, da-da-da. And Spirit is saying a lot of this comes from a lot of people feeling like dark-skinned black women don't have a right to be passionate about themselves. Such as when you stand up for yourself, when you set standards and boundaries and you enforce them, that is a sense of passion for yourself. Again, I'm going to read some specific things that reiterate and confirm that concept that is noted on the card. Okay, so the frequency of passion reminds us that beneath every intense emotion lies the hidden gem of insight, balance, and calm. But what I want to focus on mostly is the insight part. If we remember, and in case you didn't know, emotions are attached to your intuition. That's why it's heavily important to be emotionally intelligent and emotionally in tune, to allow yourself to face all of your emotions, to process them, to learn what it is, to process them, to be in them, to use them, to release them, and the time and places for all of that, such as the time and the places for insight, the time and the places for balance, the time and the places for calm, amongst the time and the places for intensity. Okay, so taking it back to that, emotions attached to intuition. Now, passion is described as intense emotion, amongst other things, but specifically, passion is described as intense emotion. And often in this social construct that we, live in this society, we're often demonized for intense emotion, specifically intense expressions of emotion. Okay, and a lot of times that is intentional because a lot of quote unquote elites or powers that be, a lot of dictator authoritarians set out to demonize other people being emotionally intelligent and emotionally in tune, because they know that if you are emotionally intelligent and in tune in such a way, you will be passionate. Therefore, you will be highly intuitive and not only perceive and communicate from your intuition, but also take action. And that is the part about passion. Passion allows you to allow yourself to take action on what you are perceiving and receiving. Okay? Now, that said, in receiving, a lot of times we forget that there are certain things that we're asking for, we're trying to manifest, and we're just thinking about us having it, and or we're just thinking about how we're going to benefit from it. But sometimes spirit will either delay it, and or you get it and something, falters with it or whatever, because you're not grasping that that blessing is for you, yes. But passion is meant to lead you on how you are meant to get the most out of it. Taking it back to that Five of Cups messages about making the most of your resources. There are certain blessings that you have that you're not giving the proper gratitude to because you're lacking a sense of passion, therefore lacking a sense of intuition, lacking a sense of insight on how to make the most out of that blessing. Okay? It's like someone gifting you a big ass golden bar, literally a bar made of pure gold. And instead of figuring out the multitude of ways that you can be resourceful with that big ass piece of resource, you just start using it as a paperweight. You see? Now I want to bring attention to the coloration of the cards. Specifically the Five of Cups and the Passion card. So both have a lot of orange, okay, a couple of hues of red, and some blue and some purple. So those colorations are giving some reaffirmation and confirmation about the connections and the alignment, particularly how they work together. That is the sacral, solar plexus, throat, and all the other ones on the intuition, third eye that is, and the crown chakra. The way that they all work together, okay? Having a sense of protecting yourself, having a sense of allowing yourself to be emotional, to be creative, to have leisure and all that, allowing yourself to be confident, therefore opening yourself up more to what the truth is, how to perceive it, how to communicate it, therefore how to make the most of it, and what God's plan is for it, and how to co-collab it with your plan. Now, that segues us perfectly to the next card, the final card in this particular layout, which is Quetzalcoatl. I'm very country, okay? I hope I said that correctly. But this is, as they describe them, one of the most important gods. So yes, I'm trying to see what the card notes. Okay, the card notes their pronoun as he. Now, okay, so yes, he is described as the most important, or what may be the most important Aztec god. Okay, this is the feathered serpent, okay, also known as the god of knowledge, of dawn, of merchants, the arts, and professions, okay, associated with the elements of air, and it's directly connected to intellect, education, books, and the invention of the calendar. So straight out the gate with this card coming out, we have the number 16, so the number 1, giving us a number of new beginnings, of independence, of wholeness. With the number 6, which is the number of reflection, a number of youth, your inner child, your childhood, reflections, memories, all of that. You put the number 1 and 6 together and you get that good old number 7. So that's 2 number 7 combinations, okay? So an exhilarator of said energy and said messages associated. And I want to dip into the coloration of the card real quick. We're dealing with a lot of green, and we are revisited by the color orange, okay? So a merging here needing to happen, and alignment, a healing of the relationship between the sacral chakra and the heart chakra is needing to happen. Hearing, once again, passions, doing what you love and loving what you do, doing what you love so that you can love what you do. Now, this draws back to the elements that this god is associated with, and that this god is the god of, such as professions, merchants, arts, okay? Things of that nature, specifically, also like education, books, the invention of the calendar, all of that, a whole lot of elements associated with not only being a leader, but particularly being an alchemist, being a trailblazer of sorts. And so this is spirit saying, God saying, this God in particular, saying that y'all are needing to get more proactive and more consistent in having God not only be a part of your processes, but be at the front of your processes. Because being the fact that y'all are natural alchemists, y'all have the divine purpose and the divine identity of being alchemists. Like, of course, everybody has alchemist abilities one way or another. However, it's different when you are, as in your divine identity and your divine purpose is being an alchemist. Of course, that makes your abilities and gifts of alchemy that much stronger, that much powerful, that much more powerful. And again, that has made y'all much more of a target for insecure people, ego busters, energy vampires, people who have a hard time being inspired, being self-motivated and self-disciplined. The types of people that usually only see the results. They don't see all of the hard work and the lonely nights and all of that was put into gaining the results, okay? And all of that said, if you've been thinking about monetizing your art, if you've been thinking about merchandise, creating merchandise to be sold and or, gathering and accumulating merchandise one way or another to sell, monetizing whatever it is that you are passionate about, this is confirmation and a direct call to start putting your energy into that. Because when you're doing things out of passion, the things that you do, of course, you're going to get tired, of course, because you're human, you get tired. However, you won't be drained by your work. You won't be depleted and deprived by your work when you're doing something that you are passionate about. And that is even concerning dealing with people, dealing with relationships. This is a way, and this is what Spirit is saying too, for y'all to get better at recognizing where your passions truly are. If you're doing something or have been doing something or hanging with somebody or dealing with somebody that when you're dealing with them or when you're done doing it, you feel drained, exhausted, depleted, like all you want to do is just go lay down and just do nothing and just stare in space and just, be an empty vessel type shit. That's a sign that your passion is not lying with that person or with that thing for real. Your passion is not laying in that area or in that activity. Because it may not even be. Now, it could be in certain circumstances, of course, you can ask for the discernment on that. But it doesn't have to necessarily be that you're dealing with the energy vampire or that someone is like mindlessly or intentionally draining you. It could be simply you are drained by them and or you are drained by the situation, the environment, because it does not resonate with you. It does not resonate with your evolution. It does not resonate with your passions. And again, remember, passion is intense emotion. Emotions are connected to intuition. So, as I just said, it could be circumstances where you're not necessarily dealing with energy vampires or people that are out to get you or whatever, what have you. However, if you are somewhere dealing with someone, doing something in a particular environment, and you're feeling drained and depleted by it, or even exhilarated by it, that is your spirit trying to tell you something about that person, that environment, that situation, one way or another. Your spirit is discerning something about it and trying to tell you something. And so needing to get more in tune in that manner, which is another reason why Spirit is saying y'all are needing to get much more proactive and having God a part of your processes and at the forefront of your processes, as well as getting a stronger, more proactive relationship with the God within you as well. Because when you're an alchemist, when you are a trailblazer, like I said, it does put a target on your front, your back, your sides, your insides, and your outsides. All of that, it puts a target on you. And so it also attracts a lot of mixed energy, because all bugs don't bite, right? But most bugs are attracted to the light. Okay, so you end up attracting a whole lot of mixed company. So you need God more than the average person to help you discern the difference between butterflies, moths, skippers, gnats, mosquitoes, wasps, dirt daubers, bees, hornets. You catching my drift? You picking up what I'm putting down? Because this is going back to that sense of knowing. Because as been said, and it's, coming all together into a nutshell, if you will, y'all have been demonizing y'all sense of passion for yourself, and therefore your sense of knowing, your sense of faith and confidence in knowing who you are, where you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to be doing, what you're supposed to have, and what you're supposed to do with it. And because that has been demonized within y'all and y'all have been taught to demonize it within yourselves, you've been stifling and stagnating yourselves, keeping yourselves in this loop because a part of you is afraid to stand out. A part of you is afraid and resents being naturally outstanding. A part of you has been demonizing this alchemist, this trailblazer that you are. And therefore, keeping yourself in basic territory, trying to be normal, trying to be accepted, trying to prove that you can conform and be the good little girl, the good little boy, the good little whatever that everybody wants you to do and be, trying to prove that you can do it how everybody said that you can't. And it gives me this analogy, this scenario of someone who is getting married, having kids, getting degrees and all of this because everybody said, you'll never be a wife. You'll never be college educated. You'll never be a great mom. You'll never be a mom. You'll never be a parent. Da, da, da. And it's like not even having given yourself a true opportunity to process if you even want to be married, if you want to go to college, if you would truly benefit as it concerns your passions and what you're truly into. Does it even truly benefit you to go to college? Has it benefited you going to college, getting married, having kids? Did you even truly want that? Or are you just doing it because people said that you couldn't? And so you want to prove that you can fit into all of these boxes, and then maybe you'll figure the rest out when you get there. And so your spirit and your divine realm has been making it very apparent to call a halt to that. However that functionality is applying to each individual person is collective, Spirit has been giving loud calls to action to halt that cycle of like living out other people's dreams and desires and trying to prove this and that. Okay, so that being said, I believe, I do want to first read the advice from the book. Do not fear and do not give up. Through perseverance and insistence, you will reach the goal that you desire and that most of all you deserve. Yes, God. And once again, this is all guiding y'all to the knowing, okay? Because y'all, again, the specificity of it, if y'all have demonized the knowing of your confidence, the knowing of your power, okay? And a lot of y'all know that y'all are powerful, but there's been this functionality, this muscle memory of feeling like you have to act like you don't know. It's safer to act like you don't know. And the thing is, the more you act like something, the more you perform as something, the more it consumes you. Fake it till you make it, right? It applies in more ways than one. So, again, in wrapping up this segment, this is all guiding y'all to release yourselves from acting like you don't know who the fuck you are and what you're supposed to be doing. And we're going to elaborate and clarify some more shit as we get to these other layouts. This layout here, I asked, how is this showing up in you all's life? How is it affecting your life? And we're going to start with the card on over to the left of them, which is the manipulation card. Now, messages of this card have already come up, but they came through the passion card, specifically as it was concerning people not wanting you to recognize and or stand firmly and confidently in the knowing of your power and who you are. This is because a lot of those people want to manipulate you. And so this has been showing up in your life through a plethora of manipulative people and attracting manipulative people. And this is also ultimately not only a reflection of these types of dynamics being normalized in your childhood and your upbringing, but also you manipulate yourself into shrinking yourself and or into doing all of the opposite things, you know, as opposed to standing in the knowing of your power and not demonizing these elements of your solar plexus. You manipulate yourself out of your divine identity and out of your divine functioning and your divine purpose. You manipulate yourself out of that and therefore continuously attract manipulators. For some of you, there may also be this admiration for manipulative people. The way that they are able to transmute words and transmute situations and, you know, smoke and mirrors their way through and out of things. There's something about that you admire. It's like coming from a place of wishing that, and this is how it's coming from a place of wishing that you had the charisma and or the ability, the wherewithal to manipulate people into liking you and accepting you, or manipulating circumstances into going exactly your way and all of that. And so that's where it gets into like, you are what you entertain, because you're admiring that particular element to a fault. And so you attract those faulty elements by way of people and circumstances. I'm going to read from the card. And again, we have the number 16, once a gain. Therefore, we have the number 7, once a gain, okay? And so amongst this card repeating and reiterating some messages is also repeating and reiterating some numbers and their messages as well, okay? Now, reading from the card. Manipulation, upholding your autonomy and rejecting attempts at manipulation. Critically examining resources and refusing to be blindly controlled, all right? That being said, a lot of you have been doing your due diligence to snap out of the habit and the functionality of entertaining manipulation. You're getting better at catching shit ahead of time, of catching the red flags and calling them out and or acting on them before it has the opportunity to get bad. And so Spirit is saying, pat yourself on the back for that. Pat yourself on the back for that, because that has been allowing you to create more good karma for yourself, amongst opening you up to your blessings and to the knowing that you deserve not only better, but you deserve greatness in general. And because I want to stick to the particular deck, you know, I want to go by deck. I'm being led to do so as well, so I'm sure it's also divinely designed. Anyway, we're going to jump on over to the rights of them, which is the savings card. And again, this is focusing on how is the demonization of these elements of your solar plexus showing up in your life? How is this skewed sense of passion, the lack of passion, the demonization of the passion for yourself, all of that, how is it showing up in your life? How is it affecting your life? So now, over to the right of them, we have the savings card, and it is in reverse. And we have number 5 and 2. Number 5, number of drastic change, balance, okay, wholeness, community, all of that. The number 2 is the number of love, a number of partnership, teamwork, as well as a number of duality. And we got another repeated number combination coming through, which is you put the 5 and the 2 together and you get the number 7. Yes, God. Okay. And this card reads off. It came out in reverse, so we are focusing on the reverse message. I want to be prepared for the future and not be caught off guard by unexpected events. I need to make sure we are ready for anything that comes our way. So what I heard as I was reading that card is overprotection. So definitely invest in savings, okay? Invest in, you know, emergency funds for a rainy day and all that. But make sure you're not coming from a place of desperation or a place of paranoia. Because also in being an alchemist, having very strong alchemist energy, you also want to make sure you're not calling certain things upon yourself, that you're not creating your own hells, you know? Ultimately, that you are not judging and or being hyper judgmental of yourself to the point where you skew your sense of deserving. You forget that you deserve better and or greatness in general. And you start over prioritizing the punishment that you deserve. Or you start over prioritizing what you feel like you don't deserve because of whatever. So for example, let's say you're working on a health regimen and you've been doing really great in your health regimen. You've lost a significant amount of weight. You've been doing a really great job, and you decide to eat a cupcake. And now every time you see something sweet or, you know, something of a comfort food, if you will, you're over criticizing yourself and or over coaching yourself to not indulge and telling yourself, oh, you don't need that, you don't deserve that because you ate a cupcake earlier, or you ate a cupcake the other day, and da. And of course, knowing to stop. Of course, you know, balance. However, don't do too much on yourself. Don't treat yourself and then turn around and punish yourself for the fact that you treated yourself because you deserved the treat. So continue to stand in that deserving of the treat. And if you recognize that, okay, that's enough, you know, you don't need another cupcake, or you don't need a cookie because you just had a cupcake, leave it at that. It's like, oh, instead of beating yourself up, like, oh, you know, you don't need to eat that, you fat bitch. You know, you don't need to eat that because your fat ass just had a cupcake. Instead of talking to yourself like that, instead say something along the lines of, you know, just had a cupcake earlier, but tomorrow, that's going to be my cheat, my little cheat snack. Or, you know what? I just had a cupcake earlier. That was great. I deserved it. And this weekend, I think I'm going to deserve some cookies from Subway. You know, instead of, like I said, punishing yourself for having treated yourself, start anticipating, of course, like I said, acknowledge the cutoff point and allow yourself to anticipate the next time you deserve a treat. Got it? I hope so. Because what a lot of people do, and it's probably a cycle that, a lot of you have been caught up in, which is manifesting, emergency money and manifesting the emergency along with it. So it creates this cycle of getting money and then immediately having some sort of emergency to have to spend it on. And it can be tricky. So this again is why y'all have been called so strongly to involve God a lot more in your processes and your relationship with yourself, your relationship with your internal God, and in all things, in all aspects of your life, because having that more intimate relationship with God and having God more in the forefront is going to help you all better with your sense of knowing as a sense of confidence, so that you can decipher how to, for instance, manifest money in abundance in order to have money for what you need, desire, and emergencies if they come, without manifesting the emergencies that come along with them. Okay? And so with that, y'all are being guided to start working on more of your etheric chakras, such as particularly the etheric heart chakra and the etheric, well, it's not called the etheric soul star, but it is an etheric chakra, the soul star chakra. And I'm also hearing the earth star. Earth star chakra may not apply to everyone, but if you feel like that resonates with you, that messaging, then yeah, definitely. So if you've been seeing a lot of glowy white lights, you've been seeing a lot of pearls, if you've been seeing a lot of shimmery, sparkly stuff, that's a sign that you're being called to work on your soul star chakra. If you've been seeing a lot of purple and white combinations, like unmistakably white, bright lights, like iridescently white light type of coloring with the color purple, that is also a confirmation calling to work on the soul star chakra, work with the soul star chakra. If you have been seeing a lot of pinks, peaches, rose quartz, iridescent pinks, translucent, transparent pinks that you can see through, that is a confirmation calling to start working more with the etheric heart chakra and working more on the etheric heart chakra. If you've been seeing a lot of browns and golds, bronzes, if you've been coming across a lot of minerals, or let's say you've been stepping in a lot of mud or tracking mud, finding mud, random dust, things of that nature. If you've been working with plants a lot, doing a lot of gardening, shit like that, it's a call to work on your earth star chakra. I'm also hearing, particularly if you work with plants and you have recently lost plants, like something happened to them, they got ate up or something, or they died, or something went wrong in the process one way or another, you're trying to transition them from one place to another or something, and something happened to some of the plants and caused you to lose some of them, then yes, that's also a confirmation calling to work on your earth star chakra and or work more on your earth star chakra. All right, let's go to the Santa Muerte tarot cards. So for the Santa Muerte tarot cards, and we're likely not gonna have to spend too much time on this because it's like kind of more of repeating of the same, which reaffirms and confirms a lot of the messages surrounding y'all feeling like y'all on this endless, repetitive cycle of the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. And so that's being reiterated through the Five of Wands there, as well as the Temperance card in reverse. Both of them are pointing towards endless battles and chaos. The way that the demonizing and the skewed sense of passion and all of that associated with your solar plexus chakra, the way that's been showing up in your life is in this constant state of battles and confusion and chaos. And it's like, if it's not battles and confusion and chaos happening in your relationships and interactions with other people, it is circumstances and or your interactions with other people causing you to have internal conflict, as well as you're doing it to yourself in general, your demonizing of your sense of passion for self, your shrinking of yourself, your manipulation of yourself. That is causing internal conflict because you are literally operating as your own op. You have committed to assuming the position as your forever sparring partner in the worst way. Like, of course, most things, if not all things, start with self, end with self. Often, quote unquote, we are our own worst enemy as we are our own best friend, right? But this is coming out in the manner of y'all take that to new extremes. And it's literally channeling the song Love the Way You Lie, particularly Eminem's version of the song. So what it's giving me is the energy, rage. It's the rage, the energy of rage in the Eminem version of Love the Way You Lie. But there's a serene, heartfelt type of pain of the Rihanna version. So basically it's giving both. So y'all are being called to spin both of the versions of the song Love the Way You Lie and ask Spirit for clarity on, of course, how you're supposed to be using it and how you're supposed to be, deciphering the messages of the song and all of that. But what Spirit is saying to me to say to y'all concerning that song coming up, there's romanticization. Y'all picking up what I'm putting down. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. There's a romancing of lies, of manipulative interactions, loving to be talked through it in the worst way. And so that sets up for an enhanced frequency of delusion. And delusion is one of the worst things, especially for alchemists, as you all are, because at that rate, y'all end up more misdirected than anybody, and therefore doing a lot of outstandingly fucked up shit. Which takes us back to the Five of Wands card, where it's a lot of warnings and bringing to your attention of being careful not to burn bridges to a fault, being careful not to isolate yourself to a fault, which is another reason why there's this heavy emphasis of making sure God is at the forefront of all of your dealings and making sure you have a true sense of God. Because this can very easily lead you all and or people like you all to end up like, they're giving me the image of a Brittany Renner, to end up like a Danae Jackson. These individuals who are very susceptible to cult-like dynamics. Okay, so once again, emphasis on making sure you have a true sense of God and what and who God is, the God within and the God externally, and all of that, and having God at the forefront, and making sure we have clear recognitions on what and who all of that is. Okay, because y'all are meant to do some very striking, monumental, drastically changing, evolutionary shit. We just gotta make sure it's going in the right direction. So moving on to the miracles card, the last card of this layout. And it came out sideways, okay? The number on this card is 33, okay? So a repeat, okay? A repeat of the numbers repeated as they repeat, okay? Yes, God. So, of course, number of alchemy, divine creation, all of that, divine purpose, all of that, unity, things coming together to make things happen. Hence, we're working with the miracle card. And put 3 and 3 together, you get the number 6, the number of reflections, inner child, childhood, all of that, memories, all of that. Now, the frequency of miracles supports our belief in ourselves as a part of source, and therefore our belief that anything is possible. And we're met again with them oranges and them purples, and we got some greater pops of yellow coming on through as well, and still got some hues of red coming on through as well. And so with this miracle card here, it came out sideways because Spirit is wanting you to recognize the way that miracles have already been playing out in your life. This is going back to the messages about y'all haven't been giving yourselves enough credit, and y'all haven't been giving the blessings that you've already accumulated and manifested enough attention, and therefore haven't been giving them enough gratitude by recognizing how to make the most of them, and therefore making the most of them. Y'all have been stunting that element out of ignorance, at one rate, and needing some clarity on how to get yourselves out of that repetitive loop. And so Spirit is acknowledging that by acknowledging and calling you to acknowledge the way that, like I said, miracles have already been shown up in your life, such as the recognition that y'all have been stuck in a loop. Have to recognize it in order to get yourself out of it. You've been stuck in it partially for so long because there was this unwillingness to recognize it, because there was this comfort in the chaos. And that is, going back to the messages that we're channeling through, I love the way you lie. Like, because listen to the terminology of that phrase in itself. I love the way you lie. Lying is bad. Like, okay, and that's taking it to the concept of calling a thing as well. Some things are gray. Some things are rainbow, vignette, a mix of things. A lot of things are a mix of things, but some things are simply what they are. So some shit is just fucked up and unacceptable. Okay, and so that's something that y'all have been having to come to grips with yourselves as well. Even if you recognize that other people are okay with accepting something, or they're okay with ignoring or dealing with something, you're recognizing that it's enough for you to not be okay with something, and that's it. And not have to try to over-explain to yourself or try to manipulate yourself into adapting the way of the herd without feeling like you need to explain to the herd why you're not flowing with the herd and all of that shit. Y'all have been coming to grips. Y'all have been coming into the confidence of the knowing, and into the knowing that is confidence that you said what you said, it is what it is, you are who you are, and that's what it's going to be. And that sense, that concept is meant to trickle down, trickle up, trickle sideways, and all the way around towards your divine purpose. Having that sense of knowing and confidence that you have a divine purpose, and it is going to happen, not only because God declared it, but also because you declared it, because you are going to make it happen. And that is what God is also declaring and emphasizing, and has been declaring and emphasizing here, that yes, it's in the stars, it's in the stone, it's in the plan, but also you are going to make it happen. You decided this. So get comfortable in, of course, giving credit where credit is due externally to other people and other things, but most importantly, first and foremost, giving yourself your flowers. Boom shakalaka. And again, I say from the card, the frequency of miracles supports our belief in ourselves as a part of source, and therefore our belief that anything is possible. So redirect those multitude of beliefs of the possibilities of all the bad shit. Redirect those beliefs towards endless possibilities of the greater good. And so now we get to the final, this layout has different parts of layouts. So it's final layout, but technically it's not. You'll understand as I go through. So this is touching on calls to action to basically free yourself from the demonization of said solar plexus elements. Okay, so this is basically getting into, okay, now what to do. Okay. So a lot of y'all stuff kind of ended up coming throughout the reading, but let's see what pops up throughout this particular layout as I asked specifically. So we have over to the left of them, don't talk to anyone, don't look at anyone. Spirit is saying y'all are needing a hermit mode. Y'all are needing to pull back from a whole lot of everyone and everything. Of course, calling back to the message of not isolating yourself to a fault, not burning bridges to a fault, but most certainly gracefully withdraw yourself from certain people, certain interactions, circumstances, environments, activities, all that shit. Make yourself less available. This is going to help your sense of discernment, and it's also going to help you heal. And it's going to help you heal even more so in a way that helps your spirit and your aura elevate even more so for you to be able to discern what is for you and what is not, who is for you and who is not. All right. Now moving to the middle of them. Shit could be so much worse. That card came out sideways. So it's both sides of that phrase. One, shit could be so much worse, of course. So be more grateful, practice more gratitude, as those messages have been coming up very consistently throughout the reading. Also, don't get wrapped up in this terminology so much, as been repeated throughout the reading. Don't get caught up in this terminology so much so that you end up manifesting problems upon yourself, calling problems upon yourself. Okay. So the affirmation comes up. The worst is over. Better days are here and still to come. The worst is over. Better days are here and still to come. All right. So again, re-implementing those concepts of balance. And this is also re-implementing the concept of miracles. There's this mindset here of thinking that you can run out of chances with God. The only way to run out of chances with God is to stop giving yourself chances to be divine, such as giving up on your own divinity. You telling yourself and declaring to yourself that you're no longer worth divinity. That's how you run out of chances with God. God's love and grace for us is unconditional. Humans function in the concept of conditions, okay? But in being human, we are also spirit, okay? As we have darkness, as we also have light. Our free will, we have to use it to choose to lead and be led by and with our light, our divinity, our divine identity and functionality, okay? So as long as you are constantly committing and choosing divinity, choosing edification and to be edified genuinely and to know what that is in a genuine sense, your grace and chances with God are unconditional. That's why it's hella important to continuously give yourself the chance, give yourself the space to be divine specifically, okay? And the more y'all get into those etheric chakras, the more these concepts are going to make even more sense to you, okay? Because with all of that, God is saying, stop functioning in this mindset of lack all the way up and down to feeling like your chances, your grace from God is limited, because it is not limited. It is only you that limits yourself. So no matter what happens, God has your back. The universe is on your side. The universe is on your side and making sure your divine purpose is fulfilled and that you receive all of your divine blessings and your abundance and all of that, as long as you are continuously committed to choosing that for yourself. Okay? Okay. Yes, God. So have you eaten? You are acting like a big ass baby. So there are some nourishment elements going on here. And once again, it is all going back to balance. Treating yourself without feeling the need to punish yourself. Understanding that you need a little bit of everything. You don't need to deprive yourself. Don't diet. Something a nutritionist explained to me is that you got to think about the word that is being used. When you diet, you can't spell diet without die. Okay? Dieting is a dead end street because dieting leads to deprivation. Okay? So you don't need to diet. You need to implement fasting and a sense of nourishment, a regimen of nutrition. Because, for instance, it's one thing to fast from bread and starches for 3 days, and then you get back on it and you start, eating a couple crackers. Once that fast is over, you start eating a couple crackers, eat some fruit, and you build your way back into adding the breads and the starches back into, your nourishment and what you're eating. And then you fast another 3 days, and then you gradually add those things again. Okay? Versus trying to never eat bread or starch again. That is unrealistic because we need bread and starch. You just don't need an excess amount of it. Okay? Okay. And a lot of the times, diets will lead you to depriving yourself of specific things, which will end up sending your body into starvation mode. So that's why I also put emphasis on gradually adding, after a fast, gradually adding what you fasted from back to your eating regimen and such. Because what can happen is, like I said, your body ends up going into starvation mode. So if you immediately go back to eating bread, your body will feel like it's starved and will feel like you need to binge. So this is where you have to implement self-control to keep yourself from binging, for one. Because not only is that starvation mode telling your mind that you need to binge, it's also telling your body that it needs to hold on to whatever fat and sugar comes from that bread and that starch. Because just like your mind is operating in survival and lack and starvation mode, it tells the rest of your system to do so. Therefore, to latch onto, to cling to whatever it gets now. Hence, making it difficult for you to lose weight and or to maintain a weight, and making it easy for you to gain unnecessary weight. So think about the concept of that beyond the physicality, okay? I will repeat that, but that was very long-winded. So if you need that repeated, do your rewinding, due diligence and whatnot. But yeah, y'all being called to gain a greater understanding of moderation, balance, and nutrition, nourishment on more than a physical level, but heavily emphasized on the physical level. Now, moving to the next layout of this layout. And we popping it off over to the left of them from the Santa Muerte Oracle deck. And I want to point out, y'all have another deity card that has come out. Now, being the fact y'all getting a lot of these high-suited, high-tier cards, such as the Temperance card, the Strength card, the Lover's card there. I feel like there were some other cards that came out. But also, earlier, y'all got the God of Knowledge, God of Wisdom, God of Education, all of that. God of Creation, y'all got that card, which is a deity card, and y'all also have this deity here, which is the God of the Sun and of War. And I hope I'm saying this correctly. His name is Huitzilopochtli. Okay, I hope I'm saying that correctly. But that is Aztec God of, I'm sorry, y'all. That is Aztec God of the Sun and of War. And this God comes with a lot of concepts of moderation, of balance, of understanding the risk of excess. Okay, as it describes, the sun consents life on earth. However, its excess can burn and kill. Okay, this particular deity can be considered a sublimated form of the light. Okay, which is thought to be, which is in fact, okay, powerful and generous. But if in excess, lethal. Okay, light can be lethal in excess. All right, such as if a little hummingbird flies too near to it, okay, or we don't keep too much distance from it in excess, okay, it can be damaging. It can be harmful. Boom shakalaka. Just as there's a time and a place for war. However, in excess, it can be highly detrimental. Just as there's a time and a place for the sun. We would love to have the sunshine all the time, in theory, in our mind, right? But in reality, if the sun was to be up all the time, if it was to always be daylight, we would overheat. The earth would overheat. And that would be severely damaging, okay? And so this is also another call towards getting more intimate and more proactive with the God within yourself and bringing God more to the front, more to the forefront of all of your dealings and all of your desires and pursuits. The advice of the dead from this card, from the book, is proceed calmly along the path you have chosen, but without presumption towards the first goals you see in the light. Otherwise, the shadows you meet on your path will seem like darkened wells. So this is a call to appreciate lack of action. This is a call to appreciate stillness. Taking more times and places to just be in the stillness and contemplate what is. Process what is before taking pursuit. Because you need to take account of what is for the sake of giving it form and for the sake of giving it direction and or for the sake of gaining a greater understanding of the direction. All right. There are also certain elements of this, whereas there are a lot of key things where y'all need a lot of discernment surrounding choosing your battles. Because there are a lot of battles that y'all are meant to discern, you know, calling God, calling your divine realm to fight for you. And there are a lot of battles that you're going to need to discern that are meant for you to fight directly. So that's something that Spirit is heavily emphasizing. And again, it's going to be made even more clear as you take on these calls to action. And I was called to pull from the Earth Warrior deck, which is another divine sign that y'all got to stop sleeping on yourself. And if you look at the imagery of the card, you see a lot of wings. Okay, so that's more implementation of the element of wind and air. Okay, sword energy. All right, as well as duality, more signs and symbols of duality and multidimensionality, as well as multifacetedness. Okay, because think about the aspects of butterflies once being caterpillars. Okay, and they are able to walk, crawl, okay, on land, and they are also able to fly. Just as birds are able to walk on land, and they are also able to fly. Certain types of birds are also able to exist amongst the water. Now, the card y'all have here is Alakua. And y'all see another repeated number there, the number 34. Put it together, you get another repeated number that is 7. I ain't got to go all into the cricks and crannies of it. You got it. It's repeating and reiterating the things, all right? And this particular card is something else repeated and reiterated, which is the spirit of the warrior. This card is the spirit of the warrior. Okay? So, warrior spirit. That's why it's heavy energy and all of those reiterated messages about proactivity. There are a lot of things like, yes, y'all intentionally have a target on y'all. Very intentionally have a target on y'all because y'all very intentionally have Messiah type of energy. That's why there is this heavy warning against God complex, having a God complex, having a superiority complex, as well as being sure not to humble yourself to a fault. So y'all's teetering and internal battles is hella valid. Those feelings of inner conflict and all of that is hella valid. But Spirit is wanting y'all to give yourselves credit for how far y'all come and to trust that you have what it takes to not become what you despise. You have what it takes to always choose divinity and therefore know that you are divine, that you are not a dictator, that you are not a devil, that you are divine because you choose to be, and you have always chosen to be, and you will continue to choose to be. Amongst the fact that it is also divine to have the spirit of the warrior. Everybody does not have the spirit of the warrior, but you do. And so with that, y'all have to accept yourselves as that and accept the fact that it is a part of y'all's divine purpose and divine identity to establish peace through war, to establish serenity, to establish happiness through war. It doesn't always have to be gained through war, but y'all are the embodiment, the personification of the reminder that there is a time and a place for war as there is a time and a place for peace. And there is a time and a place where the only way to get to that peace is through war itself, through conflict, through confrontation, particularly through confrontation of the truth. And in the book, it clearly states, though you yearn for peace, you recognize that without truth, genuine peace can never be. Even if it triggers an upheaval of transformation, the need to set things right is strong in you. This is the inner drive of the spiritual warrior. The compelling soul needs to uphold truth, goodness, and justice. And for that, you need passion. Yes, God. Yes, God. You will fight for these things because that is your way, spirit warrior. Trust, see, and feel the positive impact that you are making in the world. You are. You are relentless, and the divine is within you. Yes, God. And one more thing from the book I want to emphasize as it reads, to cultivate the spirit of the warrior. Inherent in this code is service to a cause greater than the individual ego. Okay, that calls back to a message that came out at the very beginning of this reading about recognizing blessings that you have that you need to be more resourceful with. Okay, because there are certain things not only that you've already manifested, but that you are trying to manifest. And the activity of those things, of those blessings, have been limited because you haven't been perceiving them beyond your ego's ability to perceive, beyond your ego's capacity to perceive it. And so in your meditations, asking for greater clarity and greater sense of evolution of perception beyond the individual ego and unto a greater cause. And so most certainly in your meditation, ask for clarity and embrace of your inner spirit of the warrior, particularly to cultivate the spirit of the warrior and what that means and how to be that in the divine sense. And remember, divine does not mean without darkness. And that hints back to the God of the sun and war card. Because just as, light shines, there's still darkness within the light. If light is shining on something, there are shadows amongst it, because in order for us to properly see, there has to be shadows. In order for us to properly see what the light is shining on, there has to be shadows. So again, for proper clarity, there has to be some form of darkness. Get it? For balance, there has to be some form of darkness. For divinity, there has to be some form of darkness. Not toxicity, okay? Toxicity and darkness are two different things. And while we need darkness, we are not to be consumed nor led by darkness. All right? All right. Now, finally, I'm going to read the Warrior's Creed. And this is from the book. So feel free to screen record this part if you want to keep the audio for yourself, if you like that type of thing for your meditations and such. So here it is. And again, you can use this in your meditations, okay? Or if you want to learn it and, declare it for yourself and all that, whatever have you. So here we are. The enemy shall never grip me. I shall not be overcome. I am led and protected by the greatest of all spirit warriors who leads love's army. My steps in the world are fierce with compassion and love in action. I waver not, for I am a conqueror over darkness, spirit born and empowered by the sacred. I embody the truth for which I fight. I am defended, uplifted, and renewed. My hands are ever open to the replenishing power of grace. Great Spirit delivers all necessary might. Divine love's prophecy is read, spoken, enacted in all realms. If love has not yet won, then the battle is not yet over. And so I rise. Yes, God. Yes, God. And so to wrap up, finishing off with the Santa Muerte tarot cards that came out. We have the Temperance card in reverse, the Strength card in reverse, and the Lover's card in reverse. And so these calls to action are, once again, going back to halting action in certain particular areas of your life. With the Temperance card being in reverse, it's a call to let certain things be messy. Take your hands off certain things. Stop holding certain things up. If you realize that, and removing yourself from certain things is how you're going to have this realization. There are certain things, certain relationships, again, it came out, certain relationships are one-sided, but there are certain things that are being held up simply because you are upholding them. There are tons of other people benefiting from these things being held up, but you're the only reason and the only person holding it up. And you don't even truly want it for real. If you truly step back and evaluate it and look at it for real, you're not benefiting from it for real, and you don't even truly value it for real. So why do you keep holding it up? Let it fall apart. Let it be messy. Let it be messy. Let it be ugly. Let the war happen. And fight your corner as the time and place calls for it. And if it's a battle that's very clear, you cannot win, let the loss happen. Because you may not win that battle, but the war is yours. So don't sacrifice the victory of the war for one battle or just for these few minuscule battles. Remember the victory of the entire war. Remember, marathon, not a race. Don't sacrifice your victory of the marathon fixating on one part of a race, okay? With the Strength card, it's in reverse. It's along the same lines, but it's just applying to different things. Take yourself out of the game. Stop being the only one that's upholding everything. Stop being the only one that's keeping the ship afloat. Call your strength back to you. Call your power back to you and use that for you, because there are other people that's just draining and pulling from you and benefiting off of you and got you fueling their victory and their success. And they don't even want that shit for real. They don't even want much for themselves for real. Your fucking resources and your perks and everything and who you are over there just going to fucking shambles. Your strength just going into bottomless pits. Divest yourself, divest your energy from these different things and people that are not pouring back into you, that are just depleting. And again, it's going to take from some of you hermit moding totally, divesting yourself totally from people and things in order for you to recognize what deserves your investment and who and what is truly for you. And the same thing is being implemented with the Lover's card in reverse. For some of you, this is pinpointing specifically to relationships, specifically to your romantic relationships. Knowing that you need to divest, that you need to pull back, even if it may come together eventually, let it fall apart. Let the shit be messy. Let it be ugly. Let whatever it is fall apart. Stop holding it up. Stop doing all of the work. Just stop. Because the clarity that you seek, the answers that you seek, the freedom that you're seeking, the way out of this repetitive cycle that you're seeking is to stop doing the same shit over and over again and expecting different results. Such as stop being the glue and start being the sword that cuts that shit the fuck up and cuts that shit the fuck out. Start being the one that knocks all that shit over. Start being the match that lights all that shit on fire. Of course, pray for discernment of the time and the place for everything. And pray for the sense of discernment for moderation. And for the final card of the whole tang, and it puts us back at square one, low-key, high-key, particularly as it concerns the passion. All of this is meant to lead you to clarity of your passions and owning of your passions, and particularly your passion for yourself as well. So this is leading you towards monetizing and manifesting the tangibles and intangibles of your passion and your love for yourself. So manifesting a life, alchemizing a life where you're able to have it all. The love, the money, the village, all of that. And of course, life be life in. perfection is a myth and all of that. But as you all are alchemists, trailblazers to be exact, y'all are meant to stand the test of time, and y'all are meant to prove people wrong who say you can't have it all. As well as people who think that there is something wrong with knowing who you are and with knowing what you have and owning who the fuck you are. Is you a badass, okay? You the shit. Own that shit. And with this Ace of Pentacles here, it's also generating generational wealth. And not only generating generational wealth for your own self, your own family, your own bloodline, but this is also tying back to those messages about being more resourceful with your resources and with your blessings. Because it's given that it's also meant for a lot of you all to not only be an example of breaking the molds and creating generational wealth, but teaching and showing other people how to break the molds and how to create generational wealth for themselves. Yes, God! And not just creating the generational wealth, in the physical sense, but also in the same manner of, quote unquote, having it all. The intangibles and the tangibles, the love and the money, the spirit and the earth realm elements of it all. And specifically, not just working to get money, but doing things that you are passionate about, doing things that you love. And the money and the physical, the material wealth so happen to be a bonus. Yes, yes. I love that. I love that. Y'all's reading was very loaded, but it was very, I enjoyed this. And I hope that y'all enjoyed it. I hope that y'all enjoyed it as well. I hope that I was able to make everything make sense. I hope that it resonated. I hope that you're able to take the meat and spit out the bone and make it work to the best of your abilities, honey. Yes, God. And with all that being said, y'all, if I do say so myself, honey, I have milked this cow dry. And I'm fairly appreciative for the exchange of vibes. And if you're feeling synchronized, please do me a divine design and like, share, and subscribe so that you will be one of the first to be back to these friendly quotas for the next time. And be sure to bless this comment section with your questions and conversations. And as always, I bid you in all ways like love, healing, and liberation. Emphasis on liberation. Mwah.